that definition was too restrictive, which goes against the purpose of the Geneva Convention to protect civilians. That's what they said. And they said that the formality of the same nationality should not preclude the application of the Geneva Convention to civilians who have been the victims of war crimes. They changed it, they altered it to mean the allegiance. So the allegiance factor is what determines who's a protected person. Allegiance, not nationality. And they said because these Bosnian Serbs had their allegiance to the Bosnia-Herzegovina beginnings of the state, that was a determining factor that separated them from Tadic. So they went back down, overturned the war crimes, and he was convicted of war crimes against civilians of the same nationality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you apply that international criminal law to Hawaii, that means Americans are protected persons. Yeah. So, I was so glad when I found that, because I'm going over the international criminal, and in fact I was reading a larger article, because I'm like, this is pretty restrictive. You know, because we have friends that are Americans. You know, being as Hawaiians, we thought we was Americans. So it got me looking into the question of protected persons, and there was a law article that was written, and it pointed out saying Tadic, being the despicable person he was, can be thanked for the evolution of international criminal law.
Wow.
He said that was like an oxymoron, like, you know, it's like thanking Hitler for something. And then he started to go into it, and I went, there it is, protected person, perfect. So that means that everyone in Hawaii is a protected person under the Geneva Convention. Awesome. And that war crimes have been committed, alleged war crimes have been committed against everyone. The only exception to the protected person is if the American is a federal employee of the government.
Wow.
Or with the military. Because when you are an employee of a government and the military, you take an oath of allegiance to the United States government before you serve.
Is it the federal government? What about state and county?
Now the state of Hawaii and the county of Hawaii, they're not governments, they're called armed forces.
Oh, wow.
That's the definition under international law. Because the state of Hawaii was created by the US Congress, right? Statehood Act 1959. Well, US Congress cannot pass laws that have any effect in Hawaii, right? Okay, so that didn't explain how they're a government. Then, previous to the state of Hawaii, you had what was called the Organic Act, or the Territorial Act of 1900. Territory of Hawaii. Well, it's still an American law, right? Okay. Well, in the Territorial Act, it says that all the laws of the Republic of Hawaii are the laws of the Territory of Hawaii. Okay, so now let's go, well, who is the Republic of Hawaii? Well, the Republic of Hawaii was basically a puppet regime of the United States. The reason why they're a puppet regime is because they were formed in 1893 as a provisional government under Ambassador Stevens. And President Cleveland, in his investigation of the takeover, told Congress that these individuals were neither de facto nor de jure, but self-declared. That means they're not a government. In fact, he referred to them as insurgents. Insurgents and government are not synonymous. So what has happened since 1900 is the Hawaiian government, well, since 1893, the Hawaiian Kingdom government was hijacked by this armed force. All they changed was the Queen and her cabinet. They kept everyone in place, the same police department, same sheriff's department, same judges, same everything. They just changed the name to the provisional government with the Queen replaced and her cabinet replaced and Marshal Charles Wilson replaced with Sanford Dole, Lauren Thurston, Samuel Damon. And then they changed their name in 1894 to the Republic of Hawaii. Then they changed their name in 1900 to the Territory of Hawaii. Then they changed their name to the State of Hawaii in 1959. Now what allowed that to go unchecked today? Brainwashing. A policy of denationalization was done beginning early 1900s in the public schools. that basically had children believe they're Americans, speak English. And by the time it got to my grandparents' generation, my father's generation, it's already institutionalized. By the time it got to me at Kamehameha, I didn't know nothing. So what do you call the state of Hawaii? It's not a government. I don't want to call it an insurgency because I got cousins in it. My son's a cop. I'm an employee of this armed force as a faculty member of UH, right? I'm not an insurgent. What you call it is an armed force. And that's according to Article 1 of the Hague Regulations. So it's an armed force. And Jennifer understood that by reading the paperwork, right?